Up next on U.S. Bank Business Watch, presented by the Business Courier. Keeping America moving is big, big business in the tri-state. Preventing additional emergencies for seniors when they're in the ER. And a local startup's product is now available in a major national retail chain. U.S. Bank Business Watch is next. Good morning and welcome to U.S. Bank Business Watch. I'm Peg Rasconi. On the Business Courier front page centerpiece this week, logistics. It's a $148 billion industry with explosive growth potential, and Cincinnati is at the epicenter. In simplest terms, logistics is best defined as the way we move. Logistics matches freight, anything from pallets of watermelons to Black Hawk helicopters, with truck drivers and carriers. Cincinnati is behind only three other cities, Chicago, Dallas, and Atlanta, in the number of logistics companies based here. We're also home to the second largest domestic freight brokerage in the country, Total Quality Logistics, a $2 billion powerhouse that employs more than 2,500 people. Many former TQL employees have launched their own spin-off companies. The region has become a logistics hotspot because of its central location, logistics talent pool, and proximity to many colleges and universities that produce energetic employees. But logistics companies are suffering from a severe talent shortage. There are 30,000 unfilled trucking jobs now, and that could grow to 115,000 by 2016, according to the Council of Supply Chain Management. More truckers are retiring, and few young people are taking those jobs. At the same time, new federal regulations have reduced truckers' work weeks and mandated more breaks. Business Courier contributing writer Paula Christian did the legwork on this story, and she joins editor Rob Dahlmeyer in the studio with more on what she found. Rob and Paula.
Peg, thanks. Paula, thanks for being here. We used to work together full time before you decided you hated me and quit, but that's it's actually not true. Anyway, talk a little bit about how the story came up in the first place.
Well, with your Fast 55 contest, every year we were noticing logistics companies kept coming in as the finalists, and we couldn't understand why they were experiencing this tremendous growth that very few other companies can. So we talked about writing a story because neither one of us really understood what logistics companies did, and that's where it started. We just started to take a look at why they're here and what they do.
Yeah, it's one of these industries that no matter how much you read about it, it's still sort of a mystery, because as we saw earlier on the video, there's not 500 trucks out in front of these places. This is a job basically that you're doing over the phone a lot of the times. What did you find out about the kind of company, the kind of people that work at these companies, and why there is so much money in it to begin with?
Well, these brokers that put together the truckers with shipments are generally young, very energetic. They are working tremendously long hours, but they are making a lot of money. They are making six figures with no logistics background, no sales background. They are just coming in, working tremendous hours, and making dozens and dozens of cold calls every day. And they're keeping track of their truckers and their shipments. They're basically on the phone all day long.
And there is a big washout rate. I just know this. There's a big washout rate in this industry because of those cold calls, because it's such a hard job. But I've been told by numerous people that there is no other way to make this kind of money unless you have an advanced degree or 10 years of experience in doing something else. What do you think the kind of person that ends up running these companies, what kind of personalities do they have?
Well, a lot of these people used to work for Total Quality Logistics. Some of them were the sons and daughters of truck drivers, and they grew up in the business, and they decided to go off and start their own business, and they are just killing it.
Yeah, and I think that's going to keep going. If you see our paper this week, you'll see the graph on the growth of that industry is really going up. Paula, thanks so much for being here, and thanks for writing the story.
Thank you. Peg,
back to you.
All right, Rob and Paula, thanks. Great story. A growth explosion of another kind has resulted in a Hebron company handling $4 billion in assets. FTJ Fund Choice does all the back office work for investment advisors that includes managing the investments for about half of its 2,000 or so investment rep clients. It also handles fee billing, reconciling trades, performance reporting, and other administrative work.
Advisors tend to gravitate towards our company because most advisors didn't get into the financial business to do performance reporting or fee billing. They got into the business to meet and solve financial problems to the underlying clients. You know, we provide all the tasks that they have to do, but not necessarily want to do.
Cook says FTJ hopes to reach $5 billion in managed assets in the next year. The Cincinnati City Council could not agree to a water rate increase last week. Members rejected both Cincinnati Water Works' request for a 7.5% increase and Vice Mayor David Mann's proposed compromise of 4%. Council was divided between members who believe the water rate needed to increase to maintain the city's bond rating and fund needed capital improvements, and those who believe ratepayers have seen rates rise too often in recent years. Mayor John Cranley, who supported the 7.5% increase, urged Council to find a compromise in the next few weeks that allows Waterworks to make improvements and keep its AAA bond rating. The new fiscal year begins July 1st. A $1.2 million renovation is about to get underway at Bethesda North Hospital in Montgomery. The focus, making its emergency department safer and easier to use for patients who are 65 and older.
Last year alone, we saw at Bethesda North 16,000 patients. Right now, currently, we see of our general population about 28%, 29% geriatric population here.
Bethesda North sees so many elderly patients in the emergency department because 16 senior living facilities are within 5 miles of the hospital. So the hospital is becoming more senior friendly.
Adding new non-slip flooring, changing the color of the emergency department paint walls, and adding certain lightings that decreases the glare, decreases the delirium, decreases the falls of the geriatric population.
The work begins this month and should be complete by November. In addition to the physical changes, 17 hours of special training in geriatrics will be provided for 70 nurses. The Business Courier's Book of Lists question this week asks, what are the top 5 tri-state chambers of commerce ranked by total members? Coming in at number 4 is the Westchester Liberty Chamber Alliance run by Joe Hinson. Hinson has been in the role for 15 years and has seen a lot of changes in the area, which is a connector for our region.
The key here is I-75. I-75 and building a central business district in Westchester, one that's going to be built in Liberty, the two basically coming together, has been, I think, vital to being the connector that we see today between Cincinnati and Dayton.
Hinson says Westchester and Liberty have done a nice job of following their vision for sustainable growth despite operating in a slow-growth, highly competitive environment. He says Westchester and Liberty are positioned nicely for continued development, as evidenced by the many projects along the I-75 growth corridor. They include Bass Pro Shops, 2 new office buildings, Butler Tech's bioscience training facility, and the addition of a 4th floor to Cincinnati Children's Liberty campus. The owners of a local startup, Artfully Disheveled, are selling their wares in one of the nation's premier upscale department stores. Artfully Disheveled products include ties, bow ties, and pocket squares, all for less than $100. Davenport, Iowa-based department store chain Von Maur is now selling Artfully Disheveled ties in 7 of its 35 stores.
It's our first big department store sale, and that sets the foundation for building the business and growing volume, and it allows us to be more attractive to other department stores and other bigger retailers in the future.
You can find us in Cincinnati at Particle on Vine Street and Over the Rhine, Romualdo in Madera, and 4546 in Hyde Park.
The Von Maur deal not only puts Artfully Disheveled products in locations outside Cincinnati, it also made the team put systems in place to work with a major retailer. Well, what are the fastest growing businesses in the tri-state? The Business Courier held its 10th annual Fast 55 Awards luncheon last week to announce and honor those businesses. Fast 55 is Greater Cincinnati's premier program, recognizing the 17 county region's fastest growing private companies.
They've had to have growth over 3 years, and some of them have had as much growth as 500%. 10 of the companies have been here at least 5 years in a row, with one of the companies being here all 10 years.
Nearly 600 people gathered at the Hyatt Regency to celebrate all the nominated businesses. You'll find a list of all the categories and winners on the Business Courier website. Well, up next on U.S. Bank Business Watch, more development coming to Newport on the Levee. And it's out with the old and hopefully in with the new in College Hill. Some news you may have missed if you're not reading the Business Courier online every day or following on Twitter and Facebook. An $80 million development adjacent to Newport on the Levee will include an apartment complex, a hotel, retail space, and a parking garage. It'll be built on the surface parking lot just east of the Gallery building. Capital Investment Group will develop the project, which will be accessible to residents, hotel guests, and Newport on the Levee visitors. A groundbreaking is expected in September. The city of Cincinnati plans to demolish the former Kroger store here in College Hill to make way for new development at the corner of Hamilton Avenue and North Bend Road. City and neighborhood leaders believe the demolition of the store will enhance the marketability and flexibility of the site. Community leaders hope to add a more dense, pedestrian-oriented mixed-use development with first-floor commercial space at the intersection, located in the College Hill Business District. Reds owner Bob Castellini's Produce Group has bought Georgia-based General Produce, an acquisition that allows the Castellini company to expand into the southeastern United States. General Produce is headquartered near Atlanta, and it describes itself as the largest full-line wholesale produce house in the southeast, according to its website. General Produce's revenue increased 120% over the last decade and is the 88th largest privately held company based on revenue. A major renovation will put the downtown YMCA on the cutting edge. Saltwater will soon fill the co-ed pool at the Y on Walnut Street. 2 anonymous donors will help pay for the $86,000 renovation. Saltwater's popularity is growing because of health concerns about the chlorine. The Y hopes the change will bring in rather more lap swimmers. And in our weekly quest to bring you a beer story, be sure to take a look at the Business Courier website for a list of the 10 best beers brewed locally. It was compiled from user ratings posted on beeradvocate.com, one of the internet's brew Bibles. America's craft brewing addiction has hit Cincinnati hard. By the Business Courier's account, there are 20 breweries in the greater Cincinnati area. And now we'd like to recognize our Business Watch partner, U.S. Bank, which has made commitments to provide $157 million in community development loans and investments in greater Cincinnati last year. U.S. Bank's community development financing last year included several affordable housing projects. It also provided capital for several partnerships that support grassroots economic development. Well done. And speaking of U.S. Bank, it's time for this morning's U.S. Bank Economic 360. This week, we're talking about student debt. Lots of graduations happening right now, and unfortunately, what comes with many of those degrees is the burden of student loan debt. It now totals an eye-popping $1.2 trillion. To better understand the scale of the problem, we turn to U.S. Bank Senior Wealth Strategist Jim Russell, who is with Business Watch producer Kelly Leon in the studio. Jim and Kelly.
Thanks, Peg. Jim? Great topic.
Yeah, it's that time of year.
Who cannot relate to this one?
It's that time of year.
Yeah, so why is this such a big deal?
You know, that's a great question. Let me just first say, for those families that are that have new graduates in the house, or a person who just completed a year of college or graduate school, congratulations. It is a big deal. Huge accomplishment.
Huge accomplishment.
Only 30% of the U.S. adult population have a bachelor's degree, so way to go.
Yep.
It is a big deal, and frankly, some of the demographic trends that we'll talk about during today's segment, I think, really play into that. Really, the first graph that we get to really shows just how this has climbed. Peg just mentioned just a minute ago, $1.25 trillion. Now, you can see how that's risen really over time. This used to not be a problem. It has has been really since the late 70s, and it's because of really some transitional issues that the next slide really points out, and that is the inflation rate attached to education and tuition and fees well exceeds the CPI. Now you can see it's almost 900% over this time frame, 1980 through 2012, which is the last year that we have statistics. You can maybe use the CPI, that 179% increase over this time frame, as a proxy for wages. So if your wages go up that amount, but your college bills go up almost 900%, that is exactly why student loans have exploded, and almost every family has to have one.
So what are the broader economic implications?
Right. You know, these are the folks that are coming out of school. They're 21, 22 years old. Frankly, almost any conversation with somebody under 30 years old really indicates that most everybody has student loan debt. The average student loan debt for those who borrow is a little over $30,000. That's a big number. Many folks find themselves delaying car and home purchases, living at home, finding other cost-efficient ways to live. Frankly, the larger impact on the economy is fairly profound, where the consumption patterns of this demographic, frankly, of a generation, 7, 8, 9 years between 30, 31, and 21, 22, frankly, it's an inhibitor for the economy, and it's something that, frankly, over the next 10, 20, 30 years, we're going to feel a bit.
A little bit of time left. Any silver bullets to help us deal with this?
Yeah, there aren't many. I will tell you, know all the ins and outs about your student loans, how they work, how the interest rates adjust. In fact, 2014 will represent an increase in the interest rates on Stafford loans. Undergraduate moves to 4.66. Graduate school loans moved to 6.21, both up 0.8% over 2013. So know the ins and outs of the details here.
Know your loans. All right, Jim, thanks so much. Important topic.
Yes, ma'am.
We appreciate you and U.S. Bank.
Great to be with you.
Thanks for being here. Peg, back to you.
A timely topic. Thanks, Jim and Kelly. And speaking of higher ed, still to come on U.S. Bank Business Watch, a local higher education institution is celebrating 50 years of educating adults. The school's president joins us next in the studio. Congratulations to Timothy Egloff, Vice President of Healthcare and Banking at Fifth Third Bank, another of our 40 under 40 honorees. In this morning's Business Insight, this year marks the 50th anniversary of Union Institute and University. It's a private, nonprofit, accredited university designed exclusively for adults. Its goal is to transform lives and communities. Union kicked off its 50th anniversary celebration in April. Joining us this morning is Dr. Roger Sublette, the president of Union Institute and University. He joins Business Courier publisher Jamie Smith with more on the organization and how you can participate in the anniversary celebration.
Thanks, Peg. Dr. Sublette, thanks for being here today.
Thank you for inviting me.
Well, first off, I attended your anniversary last month, 50 years. Obviously, you guys have some success under your belt. But tell me, why is Union Institute here in Cincinnati? What makes it tick?
Well, Union started as an experiment with 10 university presidents deciding that traditional higher ed was not meeting the needs of adult learners. So they created the Consortium for Research and Experimentation. And in the words of the first president, Union was created to change the face of higher education in the United States. And I think we've done that, particularly with the digital revolution. And these folks looked at technology, even before the technology existed, Jamie, to transfer learning around the world. Union was using alternative methods to find ways to change higher education. I would say we were created for two reasons. One was to provide alternative approaches to adult ed, and the second is to inform the field what we learned in the process. And I think that's what we've been about over the last 50 years.
That's great. Well, what are your values? What are you guys based on? And you know, what do you guys believe in that's going to keep you going on into the next century?
Well, first of all, we believe that only people make a difference in our organization, and only people are important in any organization, and people transform communities. Communities don't change by themselves. So we really are about educating change agents. And I think we've done a pretty good job with that. If you look at some of the distinguished graduates from the university, many of whom we're featuring this year across the country in our 50th anniversary. So change, responsibility, social justice, social responsibilities, those are the key words that we value. And right at the heart, we believe an education is more than just a piece of paper or a degree. It's much more than a piece of paper. It carries with it a responsibility to serve and to serve others well.
That's great. What do you think the union can do to contribute to make a difference in our community?
Well, I think we're already doing it. I think mostly to educate people about the responsibility of service. How do you go about changing an organization? Change is difficult in American society, and businesses are changing every day. And the more flexible,
whether you want to or not,
whether you want to or not, and the more flexible you are, and the more knowledge you have about critical thinking, and how do you process the tremendous amount of data that we are inundated with each day. All of those are skills that can be taught in the right environment. And so to produce a critical thinker, somebody who understands how to relate to other people, individuals who can communicate effectively, all of those are important skills, I think, in transforming both organizations and communities as well as individual lives.
And you guys have a broad array of degrees offered there.
We do. We do. We offer a range of degrees from a BA and a BS program through master's, all the way through 3 PhDs, a PsyD program in EDD, and a PhD in interdisciplinary studies.
Well, I know you have a distinguished alumni, Dr. Ken Dykewald, coming in. Yes. I believe it's on June 26th. We have information now on the screen for our viewers. Yep. Talk just real quickly, what's the theme of his speech? Well,
Ken's going to talk about the longevity revolution and how the age wave is changing and transforming our lives. And he wrote just a brilliant article recently for the Harvard Business Review in which he talks about it's time to retire retirement. And he was only 26 when he finished his degree in 1976 at Union, one of our youngest graduates, founded Age Wave in 1986, and he's been about the business of educating governments and society, and certainly about half of the Fortune 500 businesses about how to respond and react to this as the baby boomers move through the American economy. What is the retirement? And now, as the baby boomers are reaching retirement, how are they going to face and what impact will they have on the economy of the future? I think it'll be a great presentation.
Well, I hope to make it there.
Good.
Thank you for being here. Thank Union Institute for being in our city. And we hope to have you on here again.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Peg, back to you.
Okay, congratulations on 50 years. Well, thank you for joining us this morning for U.S. Bank Business Watch. We'll be back next Sunday and every Sunday morning here at 6:30 on Local 12 and at 10 a.m. on the CW. For more business news all week long, visit the Business Courier online and sign up for daily emails. Follow on Twitter and Facebook. The address is cincinnatibusinesscourier.com. I'm Peg Rasconi. Have a great Sunday.